Welcome to Home Cooking with Cheryl, and I had a special request from one of my subscribers to make pizza. So I'm going to show you how I make my pizza dough, and also I'll show you what I did with my sauce, but you can also use either jar sauce or your favorite sauce. So first things first, I have my water here, which is 1 cup of warm water at 110 degrees. And I'm going to put 2 1/4 teaspoons or 1 packet of the active dry yeast. So I'm going to let that just sit there until it becomes like creamy. So while I'm waiting for this, I'm going to put it off to the side, and I'm going to get 2 cups of bread flour. And this pizza dough you have to let rise. So what I would suggest is preheating your oven to warm, because you don't want to cook the dough, and that'll help rise it, because you got to let it rise for about 30 minutes. I have heat lamps, so what I'm going to do is put it on the back of my stove, and then the heat lamps will help rise it. So it's basically the same thing, either in your oven or on a heat lamp. So I have my 2 cups of bread flour that I'm going to put in my mixer. And I'll attach my dough hook. To this, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar. One teaspoon of salt. And 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's the key ingredient for this dough. Now that I have all the ingredients in my mixer here, I'm going to add the water and the yeast, and then I'll start mixing it. I'm going to wait till all the flour gets incorporated, and you'll see how it grabs it, and then I'll take it out and then knead it a little bit. If your dough is a little bit sticky, you can add in another cup. So it'd be a total of 3 cups of bread flour, 2 teaspoons of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And this dough is really, really good. So you'll be able to tell when you're mixing your dough that, you know, if it doesn't start climbing up your dough hook, just add in another cup of flour. You can see how all the dough, that it's not stuck to the sides of the bowl, and how it's not on the dough hook. It all stuck together, and that's a real good dough. So I'll remove my dough hook. I'll put it on the counter. Place a little flour on your counter. Now I'm just going to knead the dough a little bit, and then I'm going to split it in half. This dough will make about 2 15-inch pizzas. You can see where I split the dough. So now I'm going to make it into 2 dough balls. So you just tuck the dough underneath. Grab it with your hand. And you can see I have it all pinched together. And what I'm going to do is put it in my pan, but I'm going to put just a very little bit of olive oil on the bottom. I'll place that dough on top. And then I'm going to place a little bit of olive oil on top of the dough. And I'll do the same to the other dough here. Tuck it underneath. And then just pinch it so that all the dough is basically closed up into one little ball. Now I'll place saran wrap on top of it. And like I said, I'm putting it under my heat lamp. But if you're going to put it in the oven, just place a towel over in the oven, you know, when you have your oven set on warm, because you don't want to cook the dough, but you want to help it rise. So I'm putting the plastic on mine because I'm going to put it on my heat lamp. I'll just leave it in the back here, like I said, for 30 minutes. It's been about 30 minutes, so now I'm going to shut off my heat lamp and you'll see how the dough doubled in size. See how the dough rose? So that's what you're looking for, and like I said, the key ingredient is the oil, so make sure you do put the olive oil in here. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm putting a little bit of flour on my counter. I'll pick up my dough. And it's really nice. Your dough should feel soft and fluffy. So I'll place that down. Make sure when you flatten it, you keep it in a circle. So I'll just flip it once. Okay, and then just stretch it. But make sure keeping it in a circle at all times. Then you'll take your fists of your hands and just stretch the dough. And this dough is just so nice and soft that it stretches very easily. And like I said, it makes two 15-inch round pizzas. I just want to make it a little bit bigger than my 15-inch pizza pan. And if you make a little hole in it like I did right here, I'll show you how to fix that. I did that just to show you because it will happen.
No, you didn't. You messed it up.
You can see I made the dough a little bit bigger, like I said, and just tuck it back down because this is what's going to make the good crust. So you kind of want to make your fingers go around the edge because you're not going to put the sauce to the edge. And how I made my sauce, I made a lot of it because it freezes very well. So anytime you want to entertain the kids or you're in a hurry to make something quick, I like to make it in bulk. And then this way here, I freeze it and I already have the sauce made. So what I did is I used 1 large can of crushed tomatoes, 1 large can of tomato puree, 1 large can of tomato sauce, and a small can of tomato paste. And then I added my seasonings like parsley, oregano, and salt and pepper. And I added some hot pepper seeds because I like it a little bit spicy. And I placed it on my stove and cooked it for about a half an hour. So that's basically it. Or if you prefer, if you want something in a hurry, go to the store and buy the jar sauce or make your homemade. It's whatever you prefer. But see, you want the sauce to be kind of thick for a pizza sauce. You can see how it pours out of here. And those ingredients that I used, that's what makes it nice and thick. So what I'm going to do is fill up my ladle. I'll pour it in the middle of my pizza and just spread it around. You can use as how much or how little or whatever you like. And don't go to the edges like I told you because that's what's going to be the crust. So just keep going around in a circle. I'll add a little bit more sauce. And just keep it in a circle like this, and this is what makes the pizza really, really good. The next little secret that I like to use is I like to sprinkle a little bit of Romano cheese. It gives it the saltiness of the pizza. I'm going to make this one a plain pizza. So I have mozzarella cheese, and you don't want to overload it with the cheese because then it's kind of too gooey. So just kind of rub the cheese between your palms of your hands. And just, it's probably about 2, maybe 3 palmfuls of cheese that I put on here. But if you like a lot of cheese, I mean, feel free to double it. So just keep the cheese, like I said, right to the edge of the sauce here, because you're going to see how well this is going to melt. Now my next little secret is just put a little bit of oregano, crushed oregano leaf, just a pinch. And this is what almost makes it look like delivery pizza, but it's made at home. So I'll put this one off to the side, and then I'll show you how I like my supreme pizza. Now that I have my pizza all prepared, I made sure that I preheated my oven to the highest temperature that it would go. And make sure that you do that before you even roll out your dough or even make your dough, because that's the real secret ingredient to making sure that this pizza almost looks like delivery pizza, is having your oven at the highest setting. Now I'll show you my supreme pizza. It's almost like the delivery pizza, so I'll show you how I make that. So instead of having it just plain, I like it with the all the toppings on top. Now to make my supreme, what I did is I fried up some hamburg and seasoned it. So and I crumbled it up. So I'm going to place the crumbled hamburg on the pizza. What I like to do is place the hamburger underneath the cheese. It's your preference, but I like the hamburger underneath here. Then I'm going to put my mozzarella cheese, and like I said, use the palm of your hands. And just make sure to keep it, you know, right to the sauce, because the cheese does melt down. Now that I have the cheese around the pizza, I have some diced ham. So this is going to be my fancy version of a supreme pizza. You can put as how much or little as you want on here. To this, I'll place my pepperonis. And I like to use purple onion, so I have some sliced purple onion. To me, the purple onion tastes better. So I'm just going to randomly put it over the pizza. To me, it gives it, you know, a real good flavor. I also have some sliced mushrooms. And I'm just going to add a palmful of mozzarella cheese on top. Then my secret ingredient, the Romano cheese. And some oregano. Now, isn't that the best supreme pizza that you've ever seen? And you can make it right at home. So now I'm going to place that in my oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. I'll place it in the center rack. I'm going to take a peek at my supreme pizza. Just a few more minutes and then I'll take the pizza out of the oven. This pizza would be fun to make if you got little ones around the house that have nothing to do, if it's a rainy day or whatever. I'm sure that they would love to make the dough and then put their own toppings on top, and that would entertain them for a while, and then they get the enjoyment of eating it. And it really does look like you had pizza delivered to your house. And it's very inexpensive to make, so I highly recommend making this pizza in this dough. You're really going to love it, and so isn't your family. As you can see, the cheese is nicely bubbling inside the oven there, so the pizza will be ready in a few minutes. And the crust is turning golden brown. See how nicely golden brown the crust is and how the cheese melted? It's nice and brown. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and put it on my pizza tray. And see, it didn't stick to this at all. I'll put it on here. And I'll use my pizza cutter. And I'm going to go right down the center of the pizza, go straight across. Do the opposite. What I'm going to do now is try a little piece. I'm dying for some of this pizza. And you can see underneath how nicely brown the crust got. It's a little bit warm. This is really, really good. Look at how nicely golden brown that is. Now, doesn't that look like you had this pizza delivered to your house? The way you want to check this pizza, because it's loaded with all these toppings for a supreme, is take your spatula and you'll be able to lift underneath it, and you'll see that the crust has browned and it didn't stick to this. So that's what makes it nice and good, this dough. So now I'll transfer it to my pizza tray, and you can see how nice and easy that came off. Now, doesn't that look pretty? And like I said, I'll just cut it in half. Cut it in half the other way. And see how nice that is with all these toppings? This really smells good. So I'll try a little piece. Nice and cheesy. I highly recommend making this pizza because it really tastes really, really good. And your family's going to enjoy it. The dough's excellent, the sauce, and all the toppings. And like I said, you can use your own toppings or your own sauce, whatever you prefer. And it does look and taste like I had this pizza delivered, but I made it at home.
Holy shit! Is that a delivery?
No, it's homemade. See, I told you it looks like I had this pizza delivered. Thank you very much for tuning into Home Cooking with Cheryl, and I'll see you next video. And look for a link below, and you'll follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Bye.